there really is no better time of year to stock the freezer with meat than summer. Really, there are two really good times of year to do this, but clearly the best time of year is the summer, especially the lead up to the 4th of July. It's the summer grilling season, right? So everyone right now has ribeye steaks on a good deal. And the savvy carnivore, the savvy ketovore, the savvy animal-based person knows to hit the stores and stock the freezer as much as possible at this time of year. And I'm going to show you today the rather crazy deal a local grocery store had. They had ribeye roasts uncut for $5.99 a pound, and these were USDA select. So the last time I showed you cutting a video cutting a ribeye roast, it was the USDA sub-select quality, the standard or commodity. This is the, the steaks were a little tough. These are one step above, which is nice, and they were 50 cents a pound cheaper. So I bought quite a few, but I'm going to show you two things here. I'm going to show you first how not to cut them, and I did this on purpose. I purposely cut these in a way that left them a little rough looking because I wanted to show you how not to cut them. They're still edible. They're still totally fine. They're still ribeye steaks. I don't care about the cosmetics so much that I wasn't willing to just take one for the team here and cut them slightly improperly. And then I'm going to show you how to cut them a little more properly. And full disclosure, I'm not a trained butcher or anything. I'm no expert in cutting these things. I learned how to do this just by buying these roasts and cutting them myself. But you'll see at least how not to do it and then a better way to do it immediately thereafter. But first, you're going to get a hint of what and how not to do it by the other thing I bought that day. Because while those ribeye roasts were $5.99 a pound, just a couple days beforehand, they had the same store had full beef tenderloins, the full roast. This is the roast the filet mignon comes from. Now, beef tenderloin is really lean, but they had these for $8.99 a pound. Normally, you go to Costco, you'll see this at $24.99 a pound. So I jumped at the chance to get tenderloin for $8.99 a pound. So I'm going to show you what this meat haul looked like. All told, I spent under $200 for a lot. So let's dive into this. So what you're seeing here is the initial meat haul. Those are two ribeye roasts. It's about 25 pounds of ribeye right there. This is USDA select again. You'll have to cut these yourself. And here we have the brisket I picked up, which is living in my freezer right now and will till the end of summer. And that's a whole beef tenderloin. That's what they look like untrimmed, folks. Lots of fat and weird marbling on the outside. So we're going to start with the tenderloin, and this is where we're going to do the first don't do it this way, because you need to cut meat the right way, right? And I'm again doing this on purpose because sometimes you see people cutting meat in a really kind of odd way, and well, I'll be the first to tell you I'm not a butcher, but there are certainly ways to do it. So you take a pair of handy dandy shears like this, you cut it out of the cryovac, and you pull out the whole ribeye roast. And there's a lot of blood with that, by the way, a lot of blood. And so you see, if you take a look, there's a lot of it's completely untrimmed. I almost wish they'd had, cut a little bit off that themselves. So here's the first error you're going to see. And it's using an old slicer. That thing I've used for slicing a lot of brisket and beef ribs and pork ribs over the years. So, that thing is actually on its way to the recycling bin probably, but going to use it to make sure you're doing this away from your body. And that was away from my body, despite the way it looks like you're positioned. But, there are better knives for that, like a fillet knife, which I actually have a fillet knife. You will see here in a little bit, but yeah, cutting off a lot of that silver skin. Don't throw the silver skin away. I saved that. That stuff goes into my my brisket trimming bag or my bone bag, because that stuff can be used to make a nice bone broth. But here I am slicing through this like a hot knife through butter, really, to cut really large steaks and trimming them off. I do, yes, beef tenderloin is lean, but that's because my diet protocol calls for lean cuts. And there's the final product, lots of steaks, lots and lots of steaks. $8.99 a pound ain't bad for that at all. So yeah, we're positioning them on the cutting board just so you can get a better idea of what they look like. And here we have the first of the ribeye roasts. And now you're really going to see how not to cut a ribeye roast, because you're probably more likely to buy ribeye than tenderloin. Tenderloin's nice. It's a luxury restaurant cut of meat, but it's ultimately too lean for most people on the carnivore diet. But it fits my way of doing things, and I tend to react pretty well to moderate amounts of fat as opposed to the enormous amounts of fat that people try to tell you to eat. In fact, I react rather badly to enormous amounts of fat. But you can actually see like where the rib bones were on this. That's how well they actually cut this. So again, here's the trimmer, and here's the mistake. Do you see what the mistake is? I am cutting this from the wrong side of the ribeye. It's not against the grain. This should be cut along the fat cap, but I'm not doing that. Now I'm cutting this on a cutting board that has a ruler built into it. You can barely make it out in this video, but what it does is it allows me to be fairly consistent in both in a straight line cut, but also in having about my goal here of 1.5 inch thick steaks. That way, if I want one of these for my first meal of the day, I won't get hungry all day until it comes time for a lighter second meal, which is fine. But you're seeing why this is a mistake. Again, doing this on purpose, it's because at the end, when you get to that fat cap, you got to saw through it. And let me look, I'm using my kitchen shears right there to initially do it. I knew this was the wrong way, but I didn't know just how wrong it was. So like that knife doesn't want to cut through the fat cap. So what we're going to do here, this is after I've actually gotten the proper tool to finish the job. But what you're seeing here is rather simply me using the real proper knife to finish the job on that one. But we're going to end up doing something a little bit different here. But look, I'm pointing right there. My favorite part of the ribeye is that part right there. That is the point. Now you want to see what I did to finish it. There it is. I cut it with a fillet knife because the fillet knife was the only thing sharp enough to get through the fat cap when you're doing it the improper way. You got to do this the proper way. So we're cutting it off. There's the end result of that steak. And when you cut it upside down, not using the fat cap, they can tend to get a little mangled, but perfectly edible. I'm happy with the steak, so it doesn't matter that much. But you want to do these the right way. So here we have, I wish this was a little more centered. We have the next roast, and we're doing this one the proper way. Yes, you still have to kind of saw through it. I mean, that's just going to be the case, but I'm using a much sharper knife, and it's fat cap up because, well, with the fat cap, you can actually, slice yourself a guideline to make sure it's straight, and then you can just cut your way through it. And it's much faster going. The steaks come out less mangled looking. I know that one doesn't, but that's because I didn't trim off any of the leftover bits. But there's the end result. I got 20 ribeyes plus those 2 long strips were kind of the end of the caps of each of the ribeyes. And those are technically ribeye as well. They just don't look anything like a ribeye steak. But I got 20 ribeyes for about $140, $5.99 a pound. I mean, these are super thick cut steaks. You eat one of those for breakfast, you won't want anything else for most of the rest of the day. Clearly, you can tell by my skills that I am a novice at cutting these ribeye roasts into steaks. Now, why would I do that? Show my inadequacy on camera for the whole world to see about how bad I am at cutting steaks. It's simple, because if I'm willing to do that, you should be willing to do it too. I saved probably $12 between those 2 roasts on 20 ribeye steaks. And I was willing to, not only show you not how to do it, but also generally how not very good I am at doing it the right way. And why is that? Because again, if I'm willing to do that, you should be willing to cut them yourselves, assuming, of course, you can afford them. And there's a few reasons you might want to do that right now, partially because of all the rumors that here in about a month or so, food's going to start getting real expensive, that there's going to be shortages because the harvests are lighter this year than they have been in a long time due to geopolitical events. This is a good time to stock your freezer, folks. So I'm showing you this video today on a Saturday before the 4th of July because everyone's got meat sales going on right now. If you're in the Oklahoma City area or even in Tulsa and are willing to make the drive, let me know in the comments. I will tell you what store I got these in. I'm in central Oklahoma, so might be a bit of a drive, but $5.99 a pound for a whole uncut ribeye roast might be worth your trip to pick up 2 or 3 of them. Anyway, let me know in the comments what you thought of this. Like and subscribe if you haven't. It does help. And as always, go out and optimize your day today.